What's going on, Nasteey Nation? It's Nasteey, and I would like to welcome each and every one of you to the League of Dark Harvest. We are already a few weeks into the preseason, and unless you've been hiding under a rock, you should all be very aware by now that the newly updated Dark Harvest rune has practically taken over League of Legends. This rune has been far too overtuned and overpowered ever since the preseason began, and this is even after a hotfix was already put in place. Luckily enough, by the time this video is uploaded, it will be patch 8.24, which means Dark Harvest has been nerfed quite a bit. At this point in time, it's basically half as useful as what it used to be. However, I still think the rune is a very cool concept. I think it's really fun to use on a lot of champions. It essentially allows you to do a lot more damage in the later stages of the game, no matter what champion you take it on, and for that reason, I still wanted to make this video. So in today's video, I'll be going over the 10 strongest supports with the newly updated Dark Harvest rune. If you go on to enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like, but without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, here we go. So at number 10, I have Pyke. I put Pyke at number 10 on the list because even though I do feel as though Dark Harvest works on him, I still feel that there are other runes out there in the game that suit him a little bit better. Nevertheless, if you're looking to have some extra fun and dish out some extra damage, then this rune will surely do the job. On top of all that, there were some changes that were put in place a little bit ago that made it so that Pyke scales with lethality, and with this change, Pyke tends to do a little bit more damage in game as it is, so taking Dark Harvest is going to increase that overall damage output. At number 9, we have Zilean, and the only reason I even know that Zilean with Dark Harvest works is because one of my most supportive viewers is constantly asking me to play Zilean, and eventually I reluctantly gave in and gave it a try. To my surprise, it worked out pretty well. It's not super ideal in all situations, considering it can be a little difficult to time your bomb damage to go off at the exact same time that the enemy is at a low percentage without either taking the kill for yourself or having the enemy die before the bomb actually gets a chance to proc. Regardless though, it does come in hand here and there and allow you to overall put out more damage. This is really nice if you play your Zilean full AP. I know that Zilean is a little bit of a flexible pick. Sometimes you can go with a utility build, other times you can focus on doing more damage and building full AP items, and taking Dark Harvest is definitely going to work better with a full damage build. At number 8, I have Bard. I personally feel as though Dark Harvest is a fantastic rune for Bard, given Bard is a champion that likes to output a lot of damage, and Dark Harvest of course is just going to allow him to do even more of that. However, the purpose of this video was to showcase the strongest supports with this rune, not the champions that this rune suits best, and unfortunately, even though Bard and Dark Harvest do work really well together, he still finds himself in the lower tier of the support picks, which is why he comes at a mere 7 on this list. You do just have to keep in mind that even though Dark Harvest is good and it's strong, it's just as good and just as strong for every other champion. So just because it's going to make Bard stronger, it's also making the other support picks stronger, so he doesn't really go up in the list whatsoever. At number 7 on the list, we have Neeko, and you may be asking yourself, why Neeko? Well, why not? If you've seen what the champion is capable at all so far, then you are well aware that she's able to put out quite a bit of damage, and it's also not certain where she's going to fit best. We don't know if she's going to be jungle, mid, support. In my opinion, it looks like she's going to end up being a mid laner, but there's a lot of mid lane picks that can be viable in the support role. Just look at Xerath for an example, and I do think that playing Neeko as a support with Dark Harvest seems like it'll be doing a lot of damage and seems fun, but I decided to put her at number 7 on this list just because it's up in the air. It's uncertain just how good this will be. At number 6 on this list, we have Sona. Dark Harvest makes a good amount of sense on Sona just because she's a champion that has the option to play aggressive and look for kills, and Dark Harvest should be able to just enhance her ability to do exactly that. Dark Harvest is a rune that scales well into the late game in comparison to something like Electrocute, and given Sona is also a champion that has potential to scale and do damage in the later stages of the game, it does work quite well on her. Very similar to Zilean though, there are different kinds of builds that you can go on Sona. You can go for a utility build or you can go for a full AP damage build, even though I do think that the utility build on Sona is slightly better, and of course that is just my opinion. If you do opt to go for Dark Harvest, then you're definitely going to want to go for a full AP damage build. At number 5 on this list, there is Vel'Koz. Now Vel'Koz isn't a champion that I've played a whole lot in my history of playing League of Legends, but to my knowledge, the best of my knowledge, there hasn't really been a rune that has suited Vel'Koz super well. You can go Electrocute, you can go Air, you can go Comet, but none of these runes seem to work with him really well. Dark Harvest on the other hand does work really well with him. It's going to allow him to put out more consistent damage, scale really well well into the late game, and honestly all of those things put together sounds pretty good to me. On top of that, an extra perk about taking Dark Harvest on Vel'Koz is the fact that Vel'Koz is one of the longest range champions in the game, and it can often be very frustrating when you see a Dark Harvest available and you just can't reach that enemy, or you can't hit an ability to proc that Dark Harvest. With Vel'Koz though, it is increasingly easier to do so just because he has so many abilities that can reach that far and get that final proc, and that's another reason that Dark Harvest works really well on Vel'Koz. The same thing kind of applies for the number 4 pick on this list, which is Xerath. Xerath is another insanely long range champion who's able to proc Dark Harvest very easily. Another similarity between Vel'Koz and Xerath is the fact that there wasn't really a rune that worked super well on Xerath either. Comet was a little unreliable and Airy didn't seem to make all that much sense. Electrocute was fine early but doesn't work all that well late game. Dark Harvest again is just going to allow Xerath to put out consistent damage in the later stages of the game, making him an absolute monster, able to one-shot carries with ease even from the support role, and that's why I think it makes a lot of sense that Xerath is number 4 on this list, making him one of the strongest supports in the game with Dark Harvest. At number 3 on my list is going to be Zyra. Zyra's kind of just a given at this point. For the most part, other champions in this game have other viable rune choices, but ever since the Dark Harvest rune was updated, it has been the go-to option for Zyra. You will see every single Zyra in every single game that you play running Dark Harvest, and honestly I don't need to go too much into it. It does make a lot of sense without having to think too much about it. Zyra has always been the type of champion that has been a lane bully in the early stages of the game and has been able to put out decent DPS and decent damage in the later stages of the game, but has never been the type of champion to be able to one-shot and carry. However, if you do take Dark Harvest and you are able to gather up a good amount of souls heading into the later stages of the game, proccing that Dark Harvest while you land a full combo will oftentimes result in one-shotting an enemy carry, and that's why again Zyra works really well with Dark Harvest, and it is a go-to option. There really isn't another rune out there right now that works better than Dark Harvest on Zyra. Now some people might actually call me crazy for what is number 2 on my list, and that is Lux. For a very long time, if you have been following my channel, you guys might have known this already, but for a very long time I said that Lux was not a support champion, not a champion that you should ever pick in the support role. She's a champion that you should specifically play in the mid lane. However, the times have certainly changed, and with Dark Harvest, Lux is a very viable and good support. There are win rates that will back me up here, as well as my personal experience that is also backing me up here. I've played a lot of Lux support with Dark Harvest, and it just works really well. You're going to be getting a good amount of stacks while playing Lux support just because she is so poke oriented in the lane phase. You can poke down your enemies pretty easily and then eventually get them low enough to start proccing Dark Harvest. Later into the game, you're going to use those souls and just completely destroy the enemies, one-shotting them with your full combo and proccing Dark Harvest in the process. And finally, the strongest pick on this list, the number 1 strongest support with Dark Harvest is going to be obviously Brand. Brand for a very long time now has been the strongest support in the game as far as putting out as much damage as possible. Sure, he lacks in other areas such as being able to peel or being able to engage, but when it comes to putting out a ton of damage, there's nobody that can do it better than Brand can in the support role. And of course, when you're taking Dark Harvest on Brand, that damage is going to go even further up in the later stages of the game, which is absolutely crazy to think about because Brand already as it is, before the Dark Harvest was updated, he was able to essentially just press R in a team fight and completely wipe out the enemy team. And now with Dark Harvest, it's even that much easier. Even now, after Dark Harvest has been hotfixed and then again nerfed, it is still going to be a very good rune and a very viable rune on a lot of champions. More likely the champions on the bottom half of this list, Dark Harvest isn't going to be the most optimal rune on, but towards the upper half, champions like Brand, Dark Harvest is still going to be the go-to, and it's still going to allow them to put out a ton of damage, which makes the rune just suit them really well. Alright ladies and gentlemen, that is going to conclude this video. I would highly recommend that you go and try some of these champions out with Dark Harvest in your games. The rune is a lot of fun in my opinion. I know a lot of people in the community were complaining about it, and understandably so. It was overtuned and it was overpowered for a very long time now. Hopefully now that it's been nerfed, there's less people that are complaining about it and we can all just stick with the rune as it is and continue to enjoy abusing it and doing a ton of damage in the later stages of the game, no matter what champion you're playing. I hope you were able to find this video helpful, and if you were, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe to help the channel grow. It really does help me quite a bit. Also be sure to go follow me over on Twitch and Twitter, as well as join my Discord using the links in the description. Twitter is where I post most all of the updates about me and my channel, as well as show the more unprofessional and more realistic side of myself, the non-YouTube side of me. Twitch of course is where I am always streaming and playing just about all of the games that you see here on my YouTube channel for the stream highlights, and my Discord is where I communicate the most with my community, and from time to time I even organize some viewer games so that I can get a chance to interact and play with some of you guys more. So even more so than my Twitter or Twitch, I really do hope to see you guys over there. Again, you can find links to all of these as well as a few other things, including my merch, can be found in the description box below. Speaking of the merch can be found in many different colors, shapes, sizes, as well as multiple designs, so feel free to go check them out if you haven't already. Alright, I know that was a lot of self-promotion right there, but I just wanted to put this out there for anybody who may be thinking I'm pushing it a little bit too far. I am currently working on becoming partners with both Twitch and Discord, so that is why I'm promoting it so much. I'm just trying to get to that next level. I really want to achieve these goals because I feel like all this work that I'm putting in will eventually pay off, so I apologize if it seems like I'm just shoving all this information and self-promoting myself all too much. But again, it does really help me out in the long run if you guys would go ahead and do that for me. Anyways, I would like to thank each and every one of you who did stay to the end of this video. It truly does mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.